which is just a replicant. I don't know the word. Welcome, you guys. I wanted to do an impromptu video talking about limiting beliefs because they are so detrimental and we all have them. I thought it would be a really good idea to just kind of talk a little bit about what a limiting belief is, and then I'm actually going to work through some that I have so that you can see the process of identifying what they are, because everyone's is different, but they're all kind of the same. We all have like kind of the root unworthiness, not good enough. That's really at the core of everyone's limiting belief. They just kind of are dressed up a little bit differently for each person depending on their life experience. So we're going to go through how to identify them, and then I'm actually going to work through and shift them. So you guys will see a process that I use in real time. I'm actually doing this work right now. This is work I do all the time, like for fun. So just depending, you might have to do this process over and over again, especially on the ones that are really, really like deeply rooted in your subconscious. If you're trying to upgrade your body system, your mind, if you're trying to up level in any way your person, you're gonna have to let go of these subconscious limiting beliefs. A lot of them, if not most of them, for you to up level. Because literally think of them as weights. They are literally like dead weight keeping you capped, and you're not going to be able to move higher while those still exist within your mind. So this work is so important for everybody, but especially if you are trying to up level in any area of your life. Changing, shifting, removing, getting rid of these limiting beliefs is really, really important to your personal growth and self-mastery. So let's begin. I am eating dinner, so I'm gonna have to cut these scenes out. Okay, so let's take the topic of showing up online, really, because that's where I'm at, and starting my own business, being an entrepreneur, showing up online, which is just a virtual representation of the energy that you hold physically. So what you put out is transmitted. So every post, every word you write, the energy, the intention, the motivation, all of that is felt. That energy is held within. So if there is scarcity, lack, insecurity, not good enough, and that's put out, that's the vibe of your stuff. So people energetically are gonna pick up on that, they're gonna feel that, and most likely be repelled. That's not an attractive energetic quality, right? That's not magnetic. Magnetic is people who are confident, who like themselves, who believe in their work. That is magnetic, attractive energy, right? We just want to watch these people. We want to be around them. We want to learn from them because they like themselves, because they're magnetic. So let's talk about showing up online. The first thing that comes to mind, it's scary. We will be judged. What if our work is not good enough? Somebody else is doing it better. They've been at it longer, their graphics are better, their website is better, their program is better. What about don't know enough, right? We're inexperienced, we're beginners. Maybe we're just new coaches, new entrepreneurs. We've only been at it a couple months. Maybe we have never been at it, right? And we've just decided we want to make this life shift. So if we're gonna post a picture online, right? And it's a picture of us, okay? I think this might fall into not good enough, but what if we don't look the picture, the quality isn't the best, right? There's a lot of people on beaches and just have these amazing shots, right? They're the view, or the way they're in some beautiful yoga pose, or it's just amazing, right? And then you take this like selfie on your phone and it might not be the greatest quality, or you just can't replicate what these people are doing just because they have different tools and different experience. A lot of this can fall up under the not good enough, because like I said, that's the root. The unworthiness / not good enough is literally the roots of every limiting belief ever. Everything will stem off. It'll be a branch that stems off of that root. Really, if you want to do this work, the best thing you could do is go straight to the source, straight to the root, and start doing the work on upping your worthiness. Which, if you need more ideas or want to hear more about that, do check out this video here. It is literally the most important thing that is attracting your life. Your life that you're attracting is equal to your worthiness. So now let's take not just a picture, but let's say we're crafting a program. Let's say we're crafting a training, a web class, a master class, and the biggest fear that comes to mind, the biggest thought is nobody shows up. Nobody signs up for your offering. Nobody shows up to your master class. That's a big one, right? That can trigger a lot of us. And sometimes it's even enough to make us not even do it. That fear of what if nobody shows up can actually stop us from creating. What else? You guys have any ideas? Send me some ideas. I'll pick them up. Time doesn't exist. We can collapse timelines. What are your questions? Fear of failure. I can't do this. It kind of blends into I don't know enough and I'm not good enough, but and the no one shows up, that could be we failed in some way. We are no good because no one bought our offering, nobody signed up. We failed. That's another big one too. My hope is that doing this work myself and putting this out there and offering this to you, that these are going to be everybody's limiting beliefs in some shape or form. This is what's living in all of our psyches. So working through this, I do really hope this process can help. So we'll take what we have so far and we'll kind of work it out. So we've got, it's scary, we'll be judged, not good enough, don't know enough, quality isn't the best, no one will show up, no one buys our offering, and the fear of failure. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working with today. These are all great, by the way. I am 100% positive that everybody has some form of this going on. So my process is always go to the root. So if you can make a list of all of your limiting beliefs. So you'll do the same thing. You'll think about whatever the action that you're going to do. So in my case, I'm thinking about posting videos and content, crafting a training, and the first thing that comes to mind is all this garbage. What if nobody shows up? What if nobody buys my stuff? What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't know enough? I mean, immediately, like within like 3 seconds of the idea of me doing this, all of this floods into my psyche. That's a big deal, right? But we do the work, and looking at this list, the root, the core is being not good enough. Everything stems from that. So my practice is always go right to the root. Don't mess around with the fluff. If you know what the root problem is, if you can go directly to the root, that's what you want to do. Don't worry about the outside stuff. That will automatically resolve itself if you go to the root. So if we look at the idea of not being good enough, every human on the planet has this in some form just because of the world that we are born into. So the not good enough is in fact a lie. It's bullshit. It's plain bullshit. To be honest, this is not something that I can just work through in a day. It is so deeply ingrained within me, the not good enough, that it's not something I can just work out in 15 minutes. This one I have been working on for years and probably will continue, but I've definitely turned a corner and for the most part feel very enough. But it took a lot of work, it took a lot of rewiring, it took a lot of the practice that I'm doing now, being willing to look at my shit, right? And write it down and change the stories and meditate and subconscious training and everything that I do. That's the path, that's the answer. Because what happens is once that shifts, everything else is irrelevant. If I can tap into the energy of being good enough, if I can feel good enough, what does that feel like? What does that look like? I don't have any of the fears of failing, of nobody showing up, if nobody buying my offer, of being judged. I don't feel that it's scary. Like literally everything fixes itself when I feel good enough. So for our purposes and for any process that you have, I highly, highly recommend don't spend all day working on the other stuff. Go straight to the root if you can identify it. So in this case, we are working on not good enough. So a practice that I found that is really worthwhile is consciously meditating in feeling good enough. What would it feel like to feel good enough? So like today, what I'm going to do when we're done here is I am going to lay down, close my eyes, and I literally am going to feel into the version of myself, because there is a version on a different dimension in a different reality of myself that already feels good enough, that isn't scared to post online. She feels amazing. She loves herself. Her courses sell out. Everybody always shows up. The right people, the right time, all of that. So what I do is I tap into her because she already exists and she's a version of me. So there is a direct connection that I have to her. I don't have to find her somewhere else, she's within. So the best tool here is to close the eyes, go within, find that version of yourself that has all these things that you want, that feels good enough, and tap into her. I would spend at least 15, 20 minutes there. The other tools that will work out with these is consciously, because that's more subconscious work. So consciously we'll work out, where am I good enough? If I maybe am not good enough to post online or build a training or be a coach or an entrepreneur, where am I good enough? Am I good enough anywhere, right? Am I a good enough mother? Am I a good enough Californian? Am I a good enough driver? Am I a good enough employee? Am I a good enough cook? There are gonna be places where I'm really fucking amazing. And you bring that energy in. So let's say I cook really well. I cook a lot of fresh food. I'm a great farmer's market shopper. So we'll start to put some of this down. I'm a pretty good mom and wife. I'm an excellent employee. So there's a lot of places where I am good enough. And it helps to bring that into the picture. If I feel not good enough to post online, can you tap into the places where you do feel good enough? And just sit kind of in that energy. The best bet is after you meditate and tap into the version of you that does feel good enough, right after that, post your picture. Launch your training, create your training. Because what happens is you're doing it from a place of alignment to the version of you that feels good enough. So you've transmuted this stuff. You got it out, you're aware of it, it's on paper, and then you tapped into the version of you that already knows it, already feels good enough. So then when you go to craft your training or post your picture, the energy that is in that picture, that is in that training, is one that you came out of your meditation with, connected to the version of you that already feels good enough. So you want to take action after you can align your energy to the opposite of what you have written down, what your root limiting belief is. So the other thing we can do is rework each of these smaller ones. So do the major work on the root, and then we're going to look at it's scary, okay? It's scary to show up online. Why? Why is it scary? And then we kind of go into, we'll be judged, right? What if someone doesn't like what we have to say or how we look, or they're going to judge our behavior, our actions, something along those lines. This is where you can ask yourself, is it really scary? Have you ever posted online and things have been fine? Maybe you engaged in conversation, somebody liked your post, they had something interesting to say, they complimented you. Do you have any experiences that you can rely on, that you can remember, that can shift this it's scary? Like, wait a minute, it's not really that scary. Have you been attacked online? And then look at that. Most likely, probably not. Or if you have, there's going to be a big difference between your supporters and people that adore you and like your content versus the people that have attacked you, right? The number of people that is really into your stuff is probably much higher. So we can totally scratch off it's scary just by looking at our own experiences. Let's say 90% of the time, we haven't had any issues, right? We have some conversation, we have some engagement, but it's not actually that scary. What kind of is scary? The vulnerability. So we'll look at that. It's vulnerable to put yourself out there, for someone to see you with what you're sharing, especially if your content is somewhat intimate, somewhat deep. It can be very vulnerable, and we've connected vulnerability with scary, and that you can just squash. Vulnerability is such a wonderful attribute to have, and like I said, most of the time it's met with love, understanding, grace. It's usually not met with attack. There might be those situations, but I'm going to say most of the time it's the opposite. So we can scratch the it's scary off. Now, we'll be judged. That is related, right? We're scared to be judged. But then let's look at that. Let's go a little bit deeper. Why are we scared to be judged, right? Why can't someone have something to say? Well, why does she talk that way? Or what she's saying is wrong, or look at how she looks, or whatever the judgment is, or if they disagree with maybe the information that we're putting out. Why is that not okay? Why can't somebody judge us and that should be okay? Why can't we hold the energy of like, okay, I see you and you've got a judgment against me, you've got got a varying opinion that's different than my own, and both can exist. I can still be in my power, I can still speak my truth, and you can do the same. You can speak your truth and you can be in your power and you can say things about me if that's what is aligned with you. So it's okay for us to be judged. If we can kind of get to that place where like, all right, that's fine if you have something to say. It doesn't affect who I am, my worth, or what I'm doing in the world. So we don't have to take it so personal, right? Other people can have their opinions and we can be unaffected. That's fine if we get judged. We don't know enough. So this is also called imposter syndrome, which I, again, think everybody on the planet has. You're never gonna know enough. There is always something more to learn. I myself read countless books. I'm always taking in information. Every free second, I am taking in something to learn. I'm just like this endless, give it to me. I wanna know as much wisdom, knowledge, all of it, experience that I can have. It's never enough. It will never be enough. There will always be another book on the topic, another lecture, another something, another training. Enough doesn't exist, right? I am enough now. I know enough, I am enough. So that one is really important to wrap your head around too. This enoughness. And it'll stem from doing the meditation and tapping into the version of you that is enough, and also thinking of situations where you are enough. There are a zillion situations in your life and experiences where you are enough and you're excelling. We just forget those and we focus on where we're a piece of shit. So all it is bringing that back into the picture. I'm a great chef. I'm a great mother. I'm a loving wife. I walk well. I exercise well. I mean, there's so many things that we do well. I'm a great reader. I'm an excellent student. Like all these things that I am enough at. So it's just bringing those back in, balancing it out, and seeing clearly like, okay, the majority of the time, I'm enough. I know enough, I am enough, and I'm pretty awesome. No one shows up or buys my training or comes to my webinar. This is a good one because we're like little children that no one comes to my birthday party, right? No one shows up. And that's really what's happening here is this is just triggering an insecure wound that we have from childhood that hasn't been healed, and it's presenting itself in our adult life. Just an invitation for us to heal it. That's all this is. This is gonna remind you of being 8 years old when no one came to your party, or one person showed up, or something similar. And again, ties back to the I'm not good enough. Nobody showed up because I'm not good enough. When, in fact, your worthiness has nothing to do with people signing up or any of that, right? Your worthiness is not in question. Your beliefs, however, are. They didn't show up because of the energy that you're giving out. So that's what you're doing here. That's the work. You're doing the energetic work to shift that so that people do start to show up. But this is just an old childhood wound that you haven't healed. And the best thing that you can do is sit with the idea. Okay, I put this out. I put this webinar out. I put this training out. I launch whatever and nobody shows up. And can you hold space for that? Okay, nobody showed up. Very similar to the being judged. Can you hold space for that? It doesn't affect who I am. It doesn't mean anything about my worth, my value. Nobody happened to show up. Where can I shift some things? Where can I make some changes? Sure, look into that, but it doesn't have anything to do with who you are and the value that you bring. That's not up for discussion. And it's not actually that bad. I've had a couple of like moon circles, right? And that fear, that little girl fear. What if nobody comes to my circles? What if nobody, and I had one time where nobody came and I just sat with it. Okay, this was a fear I had and it happened and it wasn't all that bad. It wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't devastating. It was an invitation for me to heal some old childhood stuff. Like it hurt deeply, but it wasn't me who was hurt. It was a little girl who was hurt. Nobody came to my birthday party. Nobody came to my moon circle. And it wasn't even about me. Somebody was sick. Somebody had an emergency. I mean, there was just different things that happened, but it was an invitation for me. Nobody came. And I was okay. I lived through it. So nobody might sign up for your class. And you keep moving forward anyway. The last two, so quality isn't the best, is just a fact of being a beginner, right? A lot of times we look at people that are 2, 3, 5, 10 years ahead of us on the path that we want to be on, right? We look at them for inspiration, for expansion, for ideas, and then we look at what we're creating and we judge that. We bounce that up against where they're at, and it's just doesn't even make sense, right? We're year 1, they're year 8. It's just nonsense. It's just silly. Quality will improve as you go. If you watch some of my earlier YouTube videos, I was literally using my iPhone for like a year. Now I have a nice, decent camera and my quality is better, but it happened. It was a natural progression of my creative expression. So the same thing will happen for you. So your first course, your first videos, your first pictures on Instagram, whatever it is, the quality will get better, but you have to start with what you have. So whatever equipment, with whatever you have to use, you have to start there, knowing the quality will get better. Have that intention that I will continue to upgrade. I will continue to upgrade my offering, and then naturally the quality will get better. So that one will kind of work itself out. You just have to start with where you're at. And again, connect it back to being good enough. My camera is good enough. My training is good enough. My quality is good enough. My manuals, my course is good enough for where I am right now. It will get better as I get better, but right now it is good enough. Again, ladies, it's all connected. It's all of this, all connected. So our last one is fear of failure. What do I say? You might fail, whatever failure is. I mean, that's kind of a bullshit made up word anyway. Nobody signs up for your course. Is that a failure? Did you fail? No. You learned something and you're gonna keep moving forward and you're gonna upgrade. The quality is gonna get better. You're gonna get better. So there is no failure. That's kind of, if you could just remove that one, I'm learning, put that in there. I learned a lot from this launch that nobody signed up for. That's what we're at, where I'm learning. We will swap out fear of failure with I am learning. All right, friends, so we worked through about 8 limiting beliefs that most humans on the planet have, and this isn't even actually only about showing up online. I think every person walking around has these, for anything. Going into a meeting, showing up at school, doing a presentation. These are pretty standard. So I do hope that kind of walking through and talking through them, you can kind of see just different processes. Try it on, see which one works for you. Let me know in the comments below which one of these beliefs really resonated with you and what you did to shift it. I would really love to know. Give me a thumbs up and I will see you guys next week. This is so good. And then we'll have some dark chocolate after. Make sure you chew your food. Like 30 bites. It's hard. It's supposed to be like watery mush. Just a tip. Tomorrow's farmer's market day. It's my favorite day. Just a little get to know me while I eat dinner and record. Oh, my teeth look white though, hey.